Okay, I'm going live right now, and
All right.
it's gonna show a cover screen of us together real quick,
Mm-hmm.
and let me see if we got anybody coming in. Okay, I'm just gonna dive in. Hey guys, this is Bruce, and today I'm gonna interview Doctor Mike TV. This is an interesting issue because I've never actually met him. So normally when I do interviews, it's somebody I've been talking to. This is the first time we have talked. I went over to your YouTube channel. I did some quick research. I'm like, who is this guy? And I checked out I like your content actually, and checking it out. So I got some questions about that. Really interesting.
All
This
right.
is really in line with what Yuri and I sometimes talk about as far as traveling to the Philippines and having relationships, and that's really cool.
Okay.
So this is my first time talking to you, man. Like, could you introduce yourself to us, to me, to everybody?
All right, not a problem. As always, much appreciated and always happy to be on the show. I do watch your channel, Bruce and Yuri. I love you guys
Thanks, man.
sincerely, and I appreciate you giving me the moment to come through and tell my story with you guys. Okay. My junior year of high school was the first time that I ever had a chance to visit the Philippines. So I visited the Philippines for about 3 months or so, just through the summer. And then my father, who was already living in the Philippines with my stepmom, who is a Filipina, what ended up happening was my dad said, "Do you want to go to college
Mm-hmm.
out here in the Philippines with us?" And I was like, "You know what? Not a bad idea." Came back home, finished up my senior year of
Mm-hmm.
high school,
Mm-hmm.
and then I moved to the Philippines. And consecutively, back to back to back, I did 10 years of studying. I finished my bachelor's degree in business administration, major in marketing management. Then I did my MBA and then my DBA. So in total, a long time, but yeah, 10 years total. So, during my experience there, like I was fortunate because I was not alone. My brother was already there a year before I came over, and my father, of course, was already there. So, at least the first 2 or 3 years of my life in the Philippines, I had family with me. After my brother graduated and my father went back to work in some overseas jobs, I was just there by myself. And, to be honest, I can't complain, man. My experiences were definitely noteworthy, and I do plan on going back very soon. The Philippines treated me well, and ultimately, how the YouTube channel started was after I graduated and I came back home here to the U.S. About a few months later, I was feeling nostalgic, man. I was missing the Philippines,
Yeah,
so I just decided, you know what? I know I should have done a YouTube channel a long time ago, but and there's no better time than the present to at
absolutely.
least share your story, right? So if people scroll all the way back, man, I got like over 250 videos, but all the way back to the beginning, the first three videos I did was my introduction video, my top 5 reasons why I love the Philippines, and then top 3 dislikes are reasons why people would probably not like the Philippines. And since there, that's how I started. And then gradually, I started to develop my own sound, my own wave, and I kind of found my lane.
Right.
And ultimately, the response has been positive, so that's why I'm definitely going to continue to do it. But ultimately, that's kind of how it all started for me.
Wow, man, that's a really unique experience. Like, your stepmom was a
Is
Filipina,
Filipino.
and you guys lived
Exactly.
in the Philippines
Yes, sir. That's
consecutively
it.
for like what, over 5 years,
10 years.
10 years.
Right.
Wow,
Well
man,
over five.
that's such a unique experience. I know that it's a little parallel with mine. My uncle's ex was a Filipina, so that was my first intro. I was like 5 years old. That was my first. I didn't even know
Right.
she was Filipino. I thought she was Mexican because that's all,
Yeah.
and I was in California, so that's mostly what's there is black, Mexican,
What?
and white. So, but yeah, man,
Of
wow,
course.
that is really interesting. I did not know that. I'm gonna have to definitely check out more of your channel and go back to through your
Yeah.
history. I see
It's
you on
crazy,
Black
man. I
American
mean, it's
Expat all the time, from
yep.
time to
For
time.
those of you who are not familiar, me and Jay, we do a Love and Life in the Philippines, usually every Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We just come together. We come up with topics that, anybody who's looking to travel to the Philippines would definitely get a kick out of. So definitely that's over on his channel, the Black American Expat. So, every Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. In the Philippines, that would be 8 a.m. on Wednesday mornings. So, we do this typically every Tuesday whenever we get a chance, and it's definitely a fun time. I feel like people are really starting to, catch on to it, and people are really starting to like the content we push out. And, that's all I can say is if we're affecting change in a positive way, that's all I could ever ask for, because I've always wanted to help my fellow foreigner, because there's a lot of stuff that you need to prepare yourselves for before you make that trip to the Philippines. And it's weird for me to talk like this because I talk as if I'm a veteran, but I'm still relatively young. So when people hear me talk, they think I'm like 50 or 60, through my words, because I seem like I'm wise. But, considering I moved there when I was 18, I didn't leave till I was like 28 or 29. So, that whole process for me, I can honestly say I did grow up in the Philippines. I mean, I was 18, still a little, wet behind the ears. What do I know, man? I'm still a high school kid. So, definitely I became a man over there. So, all of my experiences, good and bad, happened, while I was over there. So that's kind of how the inspiration
that brings
came.
up a whole nother branch of questions I want to ask you, man, because I mean that is incredible.
Knock yourself out, man.
How many other places have you been other than the Philippines?
Perfect. I'm sorry. Let me go a little further back. I am a military kid, so I grew up in traveling. All right. So the first place I ever went to was Okinawa, Japan. That was a 2-year experience. Then it was the Philippines. Then I went to Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, and Singapore. I mean, right. So we've seen other places. I mean, I've seen a lot of places. So, ultimately my passion is travel, and my passion is seeing other parts of the world.
Right.
So,
awesome.
I definitely encourage people to travel all the time. So I know what it's done for me, and I know what it could do for others. I mean, and it's never too late. That's what I like to preach, man. It's never too late to get out there and see the world.
It gives you such a unique perspective on life.
Exactly.
So, and I really sense that when you and Black American Expat are talking, there's such a positivity, like an openness, open-mindedness, and stimulating conversation that comes from your experience. So that's what I really like about that conversations.
Man, we appreciate it.
Yeah. So what are your favorite things so far as an expat there in the Philippines? Like what great things did you experience?
Okay, I would have to say my greatest experience so far in the Philippines was understanding how to budget my money and how the cost of living was extremely cheap. I mean, I realized, I'm gonna tell you, before I moved to the Philippines, I worked at fast food restaurant. That's what I did. I worked a fast food job. And the money that I made doing that I brought to the Philippines lasted me over a year. And of course, if you're, no doubt, I promise you,
wow,
I'm going to tell you right now, I slaved over that job from my junior and senior year, and I only accumulated $2,500. That money alone, and I did get a stipend every month or so, but that money alone sat in the bank for like a year before I even had to spend it. Wow. And I was like, man, I can live so good off of very little. And, I was able to transition myself into the Filipino mentality, what I eat, how I travel. I use Jeeps. I eat at the carinderias. I eat the local foods, the sinigang, the adobo, the, fish, the tinola, the chicken, the whole nine. I go to Filipino restaurants, the pancit. And, that transition was easier because, again, I had my stepmom. So she introduced foods to me first. And you know what? I would taste it and I'm like, you know what? That's not bad. So if I go out to a restaurant and I see it, I'm like, yeah, okay. I already know I got it. So, and, so, I mean, that's great stuff. Hi, Yuri. How you doing?
So let me...
All right.
For those of you guys who are late,
but
and to Yuri, I just want to do a quick introduction. This is Dr. Mike TV. He's got a couple of YouTube channels. He's actually an expat, lived in Philippines for 10 years. He was actually brought up in the Philippines. His dad was military. His stepmom was Filipina. So a very unique perspective on life. He's traveled all over the world as a military kid. and we're just talking about the expat life, and he's telling us his perspective, and I'm really glad we took this opportunity to talk, man.
I'm glad to be on. I told you, man. If there's one thing people know about me through my channel is I don't know when to shut up. So I love to talk, you know. So there's never a dull moment. There's always something to be said. I kind of know when to stop, but you know, I just enjoy talking. So it's easy for me to have conversations with people, especially when I can talk about a subject that I'm passionate about. Most people get the idea that I'm super passionate about, you know, traveling in the Philippines and stuff like that. And that's what people say. And I'm glad that they get that vibe from my channel. You know,
Right.
I'm blessed to fortunately just eclipse 1,000 subs just recently. So I'm super excited that that's happened. And, you know, I'm a small channel, but, you know, the growth will come in time.
Absolutely.
So, right. And the beautiful thing about it is all I do is sit in front of my camera and I tell my stories and I tell my
Right.
experiences. I share tips. And I can only imagine what it will be like when I actually get to go to the Philippines and I get to share with you guys, you know, where I live, you know, my old house in Davao City, which I'm super passionate about. Everybody who will tell you Davao City is my home city. That's where I lived my whole 10
Wow.
years in the Philippines. So, I mean, there's
Wow.
nobody who will talk about Davao City more than me, but you know, that's just my lifestyle. But, you know, any questions you guys have, please. I'm here all day. I
Okay.
have nothing else better to do, so you just knock them out.
We got a couple people here in the troll box coming in our community here. We got Terrence Indomitable. He says, "What's up?" We got Fred Funky Town. He says, "Hello." He also says,
What's up, Fred?
"Hi, Bruce and Dr. Mike." Let me see.
What's
He
up?
said, "We got Instigator. How you doing, Instigator, man? Long time no see." He says, "Hello, guys. Love what you're doing. Always a positive dude. I love Instigator."
Hi, Instigator and everybody, Terrence.
Terrence, we got
Fran.
Andy, Ancient Aliens. Andy,
Andy.
he says, "IPA silver member here."
Oh, Silver, tell him we IPA certified gold over here, but we
That's right.
appreciate you. We love you.
Who else? Who else?
Yeah.
Let's see. Instigator says, "Where are all the places where you would think would be the best place to live and retire and still be able to live good and not struggle?"
Oh my God. Everybody gets mad at me when I say this. If you've seen the live streams, every time this question comes up, I always say Davao City. I can't help it. I live there. I know there. And I honestly feel like, for some reason, in my personal opinion, maybe others will disagree, but in comparison to Manila and Cebu and Davao, because I have been in all three of those areas, I think your money goes a longer way in Davao City. I mean, you know, as far as rentals and stuff like that, places to see, quality of life, you know, breath of fresh air. It's not as
Mm-hmm.
polluted, in my opinion. So, I mean, I feel like your money just goes a longer way in as far as budgeting when you're in Davao City and some of the provincial areas. Now, you have to be careful. The province is not for everybody. You know, you're going to have to adjust your lifestyle and living. But if you can, you know, get along fairly well with, you know, spending fairly little and, you know, minimizing your lifestyle, it's
Right.
relatively easy to live a good life in the provincial areas. But I say Davao all day long
Thank you very
and
much
other
for that
places.
question, Instigator. Really appreciate
Appreciate
that.
you. All
He's the
right.
man. Now I had some questions here. Let me see if I can find some of my questions.
I did get a chance to review, and you know what? I was like, I wish you would ask me those questions. I was like, I didn't study.
We're gonna get
There
into it.
will be. I didn't
All
script
right. Yeah,
myself because
this is unscripted. Where he's gonna
let's get
coming
it.
off the dome. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let me see. I think we already discussed what got you traveling abroad. You said you were a military brat. You just traveled the world, so that kind of got you,
Yes, sir.
kind of got the bug to travel. Do
Exactly.
you have any questions, Yuri? Anything that you want to ask, or should I just continue? Okay, so here's a question. Have you had any questions as an African American man traveling abroad?
Issues?
Or any issues, sorry.
Issues. You know what's interesting? The only problem that I've ever really had that was like that really threw me off is the fact that when you introduce yourself,
Yeah.
being an African American man, I've always had to tell them that I am Black American. I've always had to mention Black American, not African American. When they hear African, they assume African. So it's
Hmm.
very difficult. It's very difficult for them, some people, to separate, you know, people from Africa and people from America. Like, so I tell them I'm Black American. I'm like, I have an American passport. I was born in America. But some people will sit there and tell you, oh, so you were African and you moved to America, but you're not actually from America. I'm like, and the explanation is relentless, but ultimately I've had to, that was the only thing that was weird. I had to literally explain to people that yes, there are, black people that live in America,
Right.
and I'm, and I think that's just some people who find it hard to believe because most of the people they may have met before is from Africa, and Africans are very prominent in the
Yes.
Philippines. I've met quite a few Nigerian, etc.
All
Those
over
from
Southeast
Ghana,
Asia.
right, all over, and they do fairly well, man. They speak the language, they pick it up very well. I mean, so I'm really impressed how they've been able to
Yeah,
adjust
they
and adapt
definitely
in those areas
adapt to
too,
wherever they go.
very well. They're
Terrence
good,
says,
and I'm jealous. Go ahead.
Terrence says that street food destroyed my stomach. Filipinos got stomachs made of leather.
You should not
Cast
eat
iron your
Nah.
stomach.
Nah, I mean, I
All
didn't have
right,
a problem
let me
with the
keep.
water. Did you have a problem with the water, Dr. Mike? Like if you ever drank the water
Nope.
like from the tap?
Honestly,
or had
in
ice
Davao
and
City,
then-
never. Manila,
Okay.
never. I've never tried Manila water, and I never will because they advertise it as non-drinkable. But where I lived in
Non-potable.
Davao, I drank from the tap. Not all the time, but when I didn't have any
Wow.
water in my dispenser, I never had a problem. It's weird. So I do advertise that Davao City water is drinkable, but I don't recommend you drink it because somebody may have a different reaction than
Oh,
I
yeah.
did. But
Yeah.
I think I built a tolerance. Honestly, I kind of felt like that's what happened with me. I kind of over time built a tolerance of the foods and the water. So maybe that was just specific for myself. But I wouldn't recommend you guys go outside of the
don't
bottled
test that
water.
out.
Just don't. Yeah, it's not worth it unless you're dying of thirst. That's it.
Terrence is asking, how is the crime out in the provincial areas? Do you mean Davao?
If he's talking about Davao, the crime there, it was here's like well here's a I mean well we already know that Davao is recognized as one of the safest places. People have heard that before. But if you dig deeper, I've never really had a problem. So if you're talking about reference to crimes towards foreigners, probably not as prominent as the crime towards other Filipinos in the area. So it's not as if it doesn't actually exist because, crime happens everywhere. It is the Philippines, but it wasn't really that bad. I never really experienced anything. I would come across news stories, but never anything that was in front of my face. With the
Gotcha.
exception of the one time that I'm sorry, I'll tell this quick story. With the exception of the first time that I went to Manila. I did a video about this 100 videos ago. But my first time going back to Manila, when I first, it was 2 or 3 years after living in Davao, I went back to Manila. Me and my girl were walking down the street, and there's this guy who runs clearly across the street. This lady was 5 feet in front of us, snatched her purse, and ran, like right in front of our faces.
Wow.
And then he got caught, and they beat him down severely before they turned him in. But I mean, I guess that's just, it's just one of those weird experiences that just happens.
That was in Davao. Okay,
that was in Manila.
Oh, Manila. Oh,
Go
Manila.
Right.
Had one question. Okay, so when I was reviewing your videos, what I did was I searched by most popular. I wanted to see like what's the core, what are people like really looking for? Because that's where you know where the audience is. And let me tell you. Oh, we got a donation from Instigator
thank
again,
you,
man.
Instigator.
Thanks, Instigator. Really appreciate
Keep
that.
up the awesome interviews. Love this channel. God bless.
Instigator in the house
God
once
bless
again.
to you too,
One
Instigator.
of our biggest
and your
sponsors,
family
biggest
and your
supporters.
fiancé.
Really appreciate you, man. So my
God
question
bless
is,
that,
when I was
brother.
looking at your videos, you talked about how there's thick women in Asia, and I was intrigued
Exactly.
by this. You said there's thick Asian women abroad, particularly in the Philippines. How many did you see? Like out of 10, like it was an 8 out of 10, 5 out of 10, and what part of the Philippines were you in? I know Yuri. Just a quick story. While you think about that, Yuri's got some real thick legs. And I love it. By the way, baby, I really like it. Like it's a. I really like it. So I would agree with you on that respect. Like they got some really nice legs.
Right.
Really nice legs.
The majority, like I said, guys, I spent the majority of my time in Davao, and that was the more prominent area in the Philippines in which I would see most of the thicker Asian women that I've ever come in contact with. I see them regularly, but I would say about 50% only. I would say 5 out of 10. If you're talking about the entire country inclusive, because there are Filipino women and Asian women in general, typically short and petite, very small frames. So for you to see somebody who is of a little bit thicker, it's almost like a shock because you're
Mhm.
like, does this? You're like, oh my god, I didn't think this existed.
Yeah.
But I felt that video needed to be made to make a statement, and quite honestly, that is my most popular video, and
Yeah.
I'm happy about it. Some people hated it, some people loved it, but they'll get over it. I
What's funny,
mean,
Mike,
it.
is we were
Go
just
ahead.
talking about this a few days. Every now and then we have this conversation, me and Yuri,
Mhm.
and we talk about the difference between the women, the models, who are beautiful, by the way, who you see on TV on the
Mhm.
billboards, who are very fair skinned and look European, as opposed to the ones that you're walking down the street and you're like, oh my god, look at her, but she'll be brown, and
Mhm.
she'll have that different kind of body type, and you're like, look at
Right.
that. And for me that was Yuri. I'm like, what the I didn't know that they,
It's rare, and people, don't like when someone has thighs. I mean, I just.
Well,
or
well, you know
yeah.
what? You know what? I agree. But you know what I realized over time? I realized that it's more of the local men that don't really that are not as accepting to women that are thicker in frame. Like the Filipino guys, I've never really seen Filipino guys attracted to or going after women that are thicker. They go after, like you said, the model
Mm,
types, the
yeah.
small body frames. So you have somebody such as myself and other guys coming in from the United States, and they're seeing this, and we're like, damn, this is kind of what we were attracted to in the
Yeah.
United States, and they have it over here in the Philippines. It's almost like, it's a dream come true because you're dealing with a certain type of woman, a different type of
Yeah.
woman that's following along the same body type that you have always been attracted to. So it
Right.
definitely kind of fits. It fits hand in hand. So, it's always a win-win in my opinion.
Instigator said, I want to retire in Laguna, which is a province, but people are great. Yeah, Laguna is one of those places that are not as crowded comparing to other places in the Philippines. Have you
Instigator
been there,
said,
Mike?
thick, bony women. Thick over bony women.
Always. You know what? I've
You
never
want
been to
something with the meat
Laguna
on the
yet, but I
bones.
have heard beautiful things. Yeah, I've heard beautiful things about Laguna, but I have yet to go there yet, and I hope I do get a chance to go there soon. Because I have met some some friends that I've been there, and they're trying to invite me to go, but I just never really had the time. So, but maybe this trip we'll try to make it happen.
Okay, so another pretty crazy video that was like one of your top videos, and I don't know I don't know which direction this is gonna go. I honestly don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if I'm gonna
Let's
get
get it.
flagged
Don't worry about it.
for
I got
asking.
you. I
But
got you.
you said that a lot of women, when you're talking about dating and stuff, immediately ask you about size. So is that
All right.
does that hurt your relationships, or is that like a bonus to your relationships? Is it immediately they're like, well, I'm curious now, and they want to go in that direction?
You know what? A person like me, because I've heard it a few times on quite a few occasions, I always just chalk it up as curiosity kills. I mean, let's keep it real. I
Curiosity
mean, they
kills the
always
cat,
hear
is what they say.
they exactly it kills, and I've had a lot of women that were interested in knowing. Now when I say that they jump into it, we do talk first, and we have conversations and whatnot. But let's say that the conversation takes a turn towards flirtatious and sexual to that nature. It's almost automatic that that's going to come up, you know and I find it funny first and foremost because I'm like,
It's an
this is supposed
icebreaker.
to be, it is. And
Heck of an
and what gets me the
icebreaker.
most is I know where their mind is now. You understand that it kind of shows their hand a little bit because now I know
Right.
what you're thinking about, and from there it's kind of sort of it kind of just flows the way that it's going to go. But it doesn't throw me off to hear about it. But what's real, and this is the most shocking thing ever, I am currently in a relationship, and the funny thing is being in a relationship, uh, it's the friends of my girl that when they have their own little conversations,
Yeah.
and it comes up often, and I'm like, wow, they're asking you literally about this, and she's like, yeah, but she smiles and shakes her head. She's very, very. She said, I ain't telling them nothing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I agree, man.
Yeah.
Don't tell them anything.
Don't.
That's a please don't do it.
Don't go
It may
there.
not end well, but
Yeah.
I joke around
Exactly.
with her. I'd be like, so who asked today? I just have like a little conversation with her, but it's all love. So,
So where are you guys going
but
next?
yeah, it
Are
does.
you guys both going together back to the Philippines or?
Oh, anyway. Yeah.
Right,
Keep
right.
going.
My girl actually stays in Davao City now.
Oh, okay.
So when I fly back, right, she's still in Davao. So when I fly back, I'm gonna spend a couple days in Manila. Then I'm gonna spend the rest of my time in Davao with her. So we're just gonna have some fun, and definitely we're gonna spend a lot of time together. Hopefully, depending on where my career takes me from here on out. Trying to see if I can stay longer. Through the summer, pick up on a couple of things, and probably try to teach in the colleges out there because I do have my doctorate degree from there. So
Oh
we're
yeah.
gonna see what comes up, because I just want to be able to make a good life, in the Philippines. That's always been my ultimate goal.
Wow.
Considering I'm still relatively young, I'm not gonna retire yet, but I can work there and still be able to stay there and
Right.
earn some money. Not a problem.
That's great, man. That's
Fred
great.
said,
Yeah.
is asking, is there many social activities in Davao?
Define social activities. I mean,
Like clubbing, maybe.
oh yeah. See, the
Big
problem with Davao is
malls.
correct. There are two major malls that are like the most prominent malls there. That's SM Lanang and Abriza, and then you have a couple of other small malls that are there. So we do have malls. The clubs, if you do go to them, they shut down at 2 o'clock in the morning because they stopped serving alcohol at 2 o'clock in the morning in Davao. Yeah, it shuts down. So if you ain't, so me personally, I feel like if you really want to have a social scene or you want to entertain, grab your alcohol, stay at home. I think that's probably the best way to entertain. That's the only way that I've ever done it. I don't really care to go to clubs. People start problems and drama in clubs. You
Mhm.
being the only foreigner, all eyes on you. I've had that happen quite a few occasions, and I realized that that's not my scene. So I just usually
Yeah.
entertain people at home. If I want to have a couple friends over, a couple drinks out, we just party from there. So that's how I operate. But as far as the social scene, yeah, man, they have live bands. They have places where you can check out the live bands. That's pretty cool. So, I mean, yeah, there's a pretty decent social scene. Is it better
Okay.
than Manila? No, but it's good enough for me. So
Dexter
that's
Williams
the best way.
asks, do any black churches travel to Asia? I'm sure.
Yes,
I'm sure they do.
yes, they do.
Terrence
They
said,
associate themselves with the Red Cross
Mm.
usually, and the World Health Organization. To help the underprivileged kids and the street kids. They kind of do like some outreach and missionary
Mhm.
work out there. So that's very prominent in Davao, but mostly in Cebu. I've learned that they really do travel to Cebu a lot.
yes,
Were you gonna
I
ask
think
that one? Okay.
Terrence said, a lot of white men like the petite women too. Yes, so.
I would say a lot of Chinese dudes are into that too. The kind of tall, thin
Right.
Chinese
Model
women.
types.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
white
Yeah.
males who go to the Philippines like that, very skinny, like people who
Petite.
live in women who live in the islands.
Not all.
That's their like
Some of
very
them like
brown
that thick.
and
Well,
skinny.
if I can chime in just a little bit. I've learned that most of those guys from like England and like Germany and stuff, most of the women out there are kind of thick too, a little bit like in
Mm.
those countries. So, as ironic as it may sound, in Davao, I'll say specifically, I'm not sure about everywhere else, but in Davao, I've seen them with the kind of tan skin women. Like they
Yep.
kind of have an attraction to
Yep.
the women of darker complexions and
Pretty consistently.
even kind of thick too. So I've seen this, but some of them do like the tall white model types, and there's nothing wrong with them either, because that's kind
Absolutely.
of what the country's perception is. White is beautiful, and it's just the way it is, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
You can't help stereotypes, but it is what it is.
Right. Let me see if I have any other questions. Last thing, Dr. Mike, is there anything that you want to promote? Anything at all? We'll put it in the link below, but also this is your opportunity to plug Of course, your channel. You guys definitely go check out Dr. Mike. You see how intelligent, how calm, how cool, collective he is. Great conversationalist. And you can catch him on Black American Expat Live. They do a spot together on Tuesdays at what time
Tuesdays,
Eastern?
8 p.m. 8 p.m. 8
Mm-hmm.
p.m. Eastern Standard.
Yep. So check them out there. But is there anything else?
Okay, guys. As already promoted, I do have my main channel that is Dr. Mike TV, and I do have a live chat channel where I do have interviews as well. That is Dr. Mike exclusive. Also, I have written 3 books on Amazon currently. My first, actually, sorry, 4 books. My first project was Mike the PI's quick guide for first timers to the Philippines. That was just a quick guide to get people started on how to operate, from, getting to the airport, finding places to stay, dealing with taxis. I mean, I kind of outlined it as you're really going through the country, finding money changers. I mean, the whole 9. I do my best to outline it. And I also put some popular destinations toward the end of the book that you guys may be interested in checking out. That's the first book. The second book, which is probably my more personal passion project, it was Dr. Mike's, that was Mike the PI's quick guide for empowering Black men to travel more. I felt deep in my heart of hearts that, my race of individuals traveled least than other races, so I kind of really wanted to put that book together. So that was more of a passion project. But I also have Mike the PI's quick guide on why all men should travel more. So that's definitely the book that is all inclusive. So they're kind of roughly the same book, so you don't have to buy both books. I'm just saying that they are kind of connected together. The final one is The Prescription for Foreigners Interested in Filipino Women. That book outlines everything that I've learned in my 10-year experience in the country is outlined in 184 pages in this book. And I promise you, that one is my best work to date. I highly recommend you guys buy that one if you're interested in dating Filipinas. It would help you understand the mindset, dealing with tampo. Some Filipinas have it in them, but, it kind of gives you guys a quick, idea of Filipino women and, how to handle situations and relationships with them. You can't fly off the handle. You got to be patient with them, because they don't know the culture and we don't know theirs yet. So you got to, be able to relax yourself. It kind of outlines all of that and so much more. So those are the books that I have out right now. I think I'm gonna take a break. Writing is hard, so we're gonna end it with that. Yeah, it's a struggle. And that's it, guys. That's all I got.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you for this opportunity for us to talk to you, man. Really, really appreciate you. I love talking to positive people like yourself. And if you guys want to know more, you guys want to get more information like this, please go check out Dr. Mike TV, where he does interviews. He has a lot of information like this in depth, and please go check it out. And with that, we're out.
Oh, okay.
Like and subscribe.
Right. Thank you, Mike, for letting us do this interview. We appreciate it.
Much appreciated.
I had a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. Everybody in the chat, salute to you. We love you. Thank you for positivity. That's all we want to promote over here. Exactly. Our channels would not be anything without the people who watch us. So I'm happy to have what I have, and I'm sure Bruce and Yuri are happy what they got. So we love you guys sincerely, and all right, peace. I'm out. All right.
Thanks everyone for joining the live.
Instigator, thanks a lot, man. This show is brought to you by Instigator. As you can see up here, Instigator, the fresh maker.
Andy was like,
was he hating on people?
We didn't read your
no, what a hater
comment, because it's like,
why are you such a hater?
Does size matter? I'm like, okay,
what is he talking about?
Yes, it does.
Anyway, like and subscribe to this video, guys. We're about to be out of here. Check us out tomorrow, where we're going to talk about K1 visa. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, if you have any kind of questions, that's the time to ask us. K1 green card, adjustment of status, and that's about it. I mean, any last words?
Trevor Richardson. Thanks up, again. Bruce?
You're the man.
It's me, Trevor, from YouTube.
You got to message me directly. I get so many messages. Yeah, just message me directly.
Yeah, for those who want to do the interview, we should do an interview with Philippine scenes.
Yeah, we're opening up, guys. We're gonna do this new format you see here. So if you have if you're really interested in doing interviews with us, just like this, like kind of an informal thing where we just talk to one another. You know, we ask a few questions. You can ask us questions. The audience can ask you questions. It's a way for us to bond a little bit more. If you want to do an interview, if you want us to interview you or vice versa, let us know. We'll try to schedule a time. I think next week we're going to try to get David's Angel on sometime between
Wallace
now and
Life
next week.
and Philippine scenes.
We're trying to get
know.
Wallace Life, but we can't get into their schedule. We're kind of trying to get in there, but we've been having a hard time with that. Shout out to all the people, all of our supporters. That's that scroll up there that you see. Jamal Waring, Instigator Logistics, Dan the Driving Man, everybody else who supports this community, and everybody who likes and subscribes our videos and watches. We appreciate all you guys.
I'm the one you use on my music since you use my Street Fighter beat.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah,
you
man.
won while HT is in the Philippines. Yes!
HT while HT is in the Philippines. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll reach out to him. He's pretty busy. I think today he went on a boat ride or something like that. We already did an interview with Rob and Michelle. Hopefully we get to do another interview with them both before and after the baby again. Like, we like doing these interviews. It's pretty chill, so it's an opportunity for us to learn more about everybody's experiences and everything. So we love it.
Shavar said, "I'm down for an interview. Please email us." Do you have our email? Do they have our email?
You gotta message me, and my email is actually here. I'll just
let's type the email. For those who wanna schedule an interview, we're doing as much as we can per week every Saturday.
So next week we're gonna try for David's Angel, and then the week after that we'll probably schedule something with someone else. So we're just gonna do like about one a week. So just let us know if you're interested. Then email me, and that email I just put down below, and then you and I will talk back and forth and then schedule it. You know what I mean? Whether it's you interviewing us or us interviewing you, whatever the case, that's how we're gonna do it. All right, and I think that's it. Did you have anything else?
That's it. Thank you guys for watching.
See you guys later. Peace.